He can speak to civil engineering, site plan, grading, access. He prepared the site plan that's in one of the tabs as well. So for just a brief project overview, we're proposing to construct an 150-foot monopole tower. It would be 155 feet, including the lightning rod, with a 60 by 60 lease area and a fenced compound on the Carlene Durgin Living Trust parcel at 67 North Raymond Road. It's a 91-acre property in the rural residential and agricultural and lake zoning districts. The site is within the town's telecommunications overlay zone, zone number 6. It has a ground elevation of 399.5 feet, exceeding the required 370-foot minimum. Access will be from Chelsea Lane. This is a private gravel road, and the facility is sited to fill a documented Verizon coverage gap in northern Gray. The lease area will occupy approximately 3,600 square feet, which is less than 0.1% of the parcel. And the tower is designed to host Verizon antennas and then accommodate future co-location for additional carriers. And so I just want to go over a little of the public benefits on this one. So this fills a documented coverage need in town and a big gap that's there in North Gray. And then it'll boost resident safety, business reliability, and traveler services. And I think the big thing there in resident safety is, according to the FCC in 2019 study, they did 72% of 911 calls come from cell phones. So this is a critical public safety aspect of increasing cell coverage in that area. It's designed for future co-location, so it reduces the proliferation of these towers. It's designed in a way to minimize visual and environmental impacts. And we support the town's interest in public safety antenna on there as well. So I won't go through each and every one of these now. I'll just touch on a few things from the planner's memo and then open to questions. So for the historic and archaeological resources, there we actually now have the full NEPA report that Adriana can speak to, showing that there are no historical or archaeological. There we also sent letters to the state and the tribes as well. Then for public safety, I touched on that, but we are absolutely working, having that can be a condition to put public safety on there. It's just there's technical aspects of where it goes on the tower that we can work out as a condition. As far as noise compliance, the ordinance sets a limit of 70 decibels at the lease boundary. You'll see we have the specs of the generator that's in there. It will run only for maintenance, 15 minutes every 2 weeks, and then during longer outages. And with a soundproofing and enclosure, we expect it to meet that requirement of 70 decibels, and we would also be prepared to accept a condition to that effect to verify that before building permit is issued. And Mr. Tilden can speak more. He's been in contact with the generator. There's all kinds of different options for reducing it. Touch on the visual impact and photo sims briefly. So those photo simulations reflect the worst case leaf off conditions, and were taken from the publicly accessible vantage points. The location of viewpoint 2 is on the church property, so just wanted to note that wasn't a public vantage point. And it's going to be screened by extensive trees. I do understand there were some questions about RF emissions and health effects, so I just briefly wanted to touch on that. So under the Federal Communications Act, local governments cannot regulate wireless facilities based on perceived health effects when the FCC standards are met. So actually we have to go through a whole other permitting with the federal government. They do what's called a maximum permissible exposure and PD study. That's being done for Keith Lente can get into all the nitty-gritty on the FCC stuff. And lastly, on the ones we want to touch on was the partial boundary survey waiver. So we created the raw land survey of the 91 or so acres. And speaking to town staff, we understand that that survey did find a stake at the closest property line as well. It's how we were able to measure the distance. But we would be open to a condition for getting a boundary survey at those property lines as well for issuing a building permit. So in closing, we believe we meet or exceed the standards of the chapter. It's been over a year working on getting this together, contacting all the various federal agencies. It's been really engineered and designed to serve public safety interests and commercial interests while minimizing the community impact. We've worked closely with town staff on this, and we respectfully ask the planning board to approve TowerCo's application this evening with those conditions outlined and any other conditions the board would like to add. And at this time, if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. And again, I will probably defer on the technical ones to the people who have this.
Okay, thanks for that introduction. Any initial questions from the board at this point?
Well, as I understand, generator starts on within 6 hours, and before that, like it will be running on the batteries. When 6 hours outage is pretty long out. Like what?
Correct, yeah, that's, so that you'll see in the, sorry, let me just check what exhibit that was, N outlines that exhibit N of the packet. But just-
So, what's, you have a question, or is that?
No, I'm just saying that most probably will, with the generator will be running very, very short time, so we'll have no impact on the, like, you wouldn't bring any noise pollution.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry, I just see here, backup generator runs once every 2 weeks for maintenance, during which it cycles on and off for approximately 20 minutes. And in case of emergency, the generator only runs after a power outage in excess of 6 hours.
No, not now. There'll be a public, comment section later. Everyone will have a chance to speak. Linda, any questions?
No questions at this time.
So I think what we're gonna do is we'll walk through the planners memo step by step. We covered some things, but not all things. We kind of skipped around, so what I want to do is just cover each point one by one, just to make sure we cover everything. So just starting with the waiver request staff comment section on page 13. So you touched on the boundary survey, and I think it sounds like you said you haven't provided it, but you're open to doing it if we want it.
Yeah, so the raw land survey that we provided details the whole parcel. They did find stakes that they were able to identify distance from the tower, but we have to just re-engage them. We've already been in those discussions to do a specific boundary survey for those closest lot lines that I believe Kristen identified. They wanted to be in this meeting.
Yeah, well, we're not in our deliberations yet, but to me, I would think that we could at least survey the closest line. And if the closest line is okay, then we don't need to do the rest. I think that's gonna be what your guidance is gonna be.
Absolutely, and I've got the survey team notes.
Yeah, okay. And then I guess the other guidance that will come up, we can talk about, well, actually, sorry, we have subsequently submitted the EPA review, right?
Yes.
I know what you said.
Yeah,
It's not in our,
it's not in the
it's
master
not in
plan.
this packet, but it's that true.
Are you saying there's an update to what was emailed already or what?
No, what was emailed to you?
What was?
Yeah,
okay.
the mine tax.
So what was emailed? I think I had emailed you all an update related to that update, which was that it did have mention of historic review. It didn't seem to have answers yet. I don't know if you can address that or if you've gotten answers to date.
We do have the answers to that. So it's Adriana on Teams, and can certainly speak to that. She's the one who's told the NEPA report.
Okay, because I did still have questions about the answers that was in the report that they asked was made, but they notified what's their travel friends and state historic press. But I need to see.
And we have not heard back.
And there's typically just like a 30-day waiting period on this. Anyway, if you don't hear back, and obviously this is going through a higher level of review for the towns. So I cannot copy that.
Yeah, the federal government and their NEPA gets really detailed. That NEPA report's massive.
And then your request is that this be, as a condition of approval, that we get that final assessment.
Yeah, I think we think we met that standard now with the additional submission, but we're happy to have a condition be.
You still need to get those answers.
Right, we're receiving those letters. We're not receiving them because they don't reply. If they don't reply after 30 days, it's. Yeah.
So we'll probably touch back on this a little bit later as to what the board wants to say. And then as far as staff comments, so this would be 1 through 6 on page 14. Is there anything there from the staff that you are not in agreement with, that you want to talk about? Typically, here, just as guidance, we're gonna support staff recommendations.
Yeah, no, and we are very amenable to these staff recommendations, absolutely. The only one, and I think I mentioned it, is the putting public safety antenna. I think the wording was highest possible point. The highest possible point, we have to figure that out about where it can go exactly. The engineers know that better, but we can absolutely do that.
Okay. For me, I can get started, but for me, the one in particular that I wanted to talk about was the access road and during construction and what your plans are there as far as the state of the road now and how you'll leave it when you're done and things of that nature.
Absolutely. And could I defer to Matt Tilden, who's our site plan engineer? He put it all together. He's on Teams right now. Matt, do you want to know?
So you,
Earlier, a couple of them were,
yes,
so they were on us and saying they couldn't hear us, but I did have to switch to the every day by time.
Hello, can you hear me now? Sorry, I was
There
unable
you
to mute. Apologize about that. Yeah, so, is currently as you come in on, is Chelsea Lane, it's a partially cleared area back there, with a kind of little, existing gravel, path that they use for skidders and stuff. What we'd be doing is improving that access road. It's about 200 feet long from kind of where we come off Chelsea Lane there to the compound itself. And, it's a 16-foot wide compacted gravel road with some swales on either side that they would build to slope, off to with a crown on the top and, basically your typical road up to the compound where there's a little turnaround area right before the 50 by 50 compound. We do have like a detail of, a typical cross section of our road design on Z7 detail 4. But hopefully I answered your question, but please let me know if I can elaborate.
I was, sorry, my question was more around the existing road and the construction impacts to the road as far as like what type of equipment is coming in to deliver tower components or set foundations and things like that. And we had it was just an example, a solar panel field that used a kind of similar size neighborhood road. We had some requirements around bonding to make sure that the road's brought back to its current state or better is where I'm going with this question.
And we are absolutely, and hopefully it will be a lot less impact than the solar panels.
Yeah, and could you speak to like the scale and duration of the construction period?
Yeah, Matt, do you want to speak to that? Defer to him on that.
I can say, I'm not on the construction team, but I would venture to guess, dealing with these in the past, it's probably a, 3 to 4 month window. What they'll be bringing in is some equipment to clear the area, do some grading, some, probably dump trucks to bring in, some clean crushed gravel, a concrete truck will be used to pour both the tower foundation and Verizon's equipment pad, and then it will need a crane on to come in to stack the tower. So, all in all, I'm guessing, probably, 3 to 4 months. Weather depending if depending on when they start and if there's weather challenges or not.
Is it 3 to 4 months of daily activity, sometimes during the week activity, or what's the impact?
would not be 3 to 4 months daily.
I think so.
No,
Still asking.
yeah, the most labor intensive aspect of this is gonna be just expanding that, dirt road down to the site. Once that's in, I anticipate that the impact should be minimal. Getting the tower up, it's a very small area. It's a 50 by 50 chain link fence, and the tower's not lattice. So I would imagine once that road's in, it won't take them long to get that one.
Yeah, I apologize. That's start to finish, kind of everything, you have to, let the concrete set up before they can stack the tower. And then once the tower is stacked, to get the antennas and all the equipment on there. We also are working with the utility company, so we'd have to set some utility poles along where it ends. Yeah, the existing overhead utilities don't go all the way to the compound, so we'd be setting some utility poles. So that's kind of at the mercy of CMP. But like I said, that's rough estimate is kind of a start to finish goal. And they wouldn't be working, like every day.
The other initial question I had, and then I'll hand it over to the board for anything that they have, is, if you could, show a plot plan of the location and point out the tower, the generator location, and then, any abutting properties and distances and things like that.
Absolutely. So those will be in your packet at tab D. And
Are you able to, is anyone able to share it on the screen so everyone can see or no?
of one of the people on Teams,
Yeah.
maybe able to.
Because thinking someone on Teams, they probably can't, can they? Or can they?
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, they can do screen sharing, that's the first question. That's like, but all of these plans are posted on the agenda packet. So if anybody wanted to take a look at them, they are online. As far as getting off on screen right now, typically that would be if you had a laptop hooked up.
I don't see one.
You don't, so they're all in the packets. Yes, happy to show anybody if they wanna check it out before leaving.
So, which is pointing us all to Z2, I think.
Yeah, if you want more of this, zoom in on the site, Z4.
It's more interested in its proximity to your neighbors, so not really, if they have Z4 is fine, if Z1 is fine.
Yeah, I think Z1 then.
So what are the distances to the closest neighbor?
Distance to the closest lot line is, sorry, I have this in my notes, so hopefully enough of this. It is, I believe, 224 feet.
Oh.
Yes, 224 feet, I believe, so closest lot line.
I think it might be 190 actually.
190 is the tower's fall zone.
That's.
Oh, gotcha.
The 190 is from the compound to the property line. And the 224 is from tower center to property line.
Oh, I see. The entities, yeah, I see.
We have any initial questions or comments on the staff comment section?
I hope, not sure that this is that comments, but it's following up to what you just asked.
Yeah.
Which is, which of, I can see the lot lines, which of these have homes or developments on them? This only shows the lot lines in the Google or the aerial doesn't. It's unclear if there's a development that's tucked underneath the trees, so that I'm curious about which of these that aren't visible on Z2 have a development of some sort, or which are just.
Matt, do you know that?
Like,
Yeah, I don't believe that there's any hidden that you don't see from that Z2 sheet.
okay,
But I actually gonna try to double check that right now, but I don't believe so.
Yeah, I text Matt to show you that.
Okay.
And I forgot to, the landlord and trustee for the property at the hand of the ones here as well.
But I was just gonna show you where the houses were on this. There's Nevers. They're the closest ones, if you're looking at the aerial.
Yeah.
And there's like a pool there, trying to see where,
Yeah,
it's like a pool, that's the closest house, that's Nevers.
okay.
And then if you follow down Chelsea Lane, there's Glen Durgin that's on the corner.
Yep.
On the other corner, I'm not sure who lives there, that was just sold. Across from Glen Durgin, there's a house.
Uh-huh.
The house after Glen Durgin is on Aurora, that's not even on Chelsea Lane. And then there's my house. I have Redmond on the end.
Okay, right here.
And then there's another house over there behind. Arlene Durgan's house is on North Redmond Road. So there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses on Chelsea Lane.
Okay.
And then to the other side is Liberty, and they have no houses. Here by it.
Perfect, thank you.
There is an improved subdivision on the Liberty property. That's never been built.
Yeah.
I think it lost.
Any questions from the applicant related to this section? They're basically okay with doing everything that staff laid out.
I don't have any questions on that section.
Okay, so, now then, I am going to open the application for public hearing. So, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this application? If so, please step to the podium and let us know your name, and we'll hear your comments or your questions. And, for the benefit of the audience and the applicant, what I would ask you to do is, we're not gonna do a Q&A per person, so, we'll hear all the public comments. I'll ask you to take notes, and then you can come back up and answer all the questions at that time. Okay, thanks.
I just have a couple of questions, both probably pretty simple for you. First off, in reading the proposal, and
Sir, we need your name first, so,
yes, my name is Robert Quigley. I live on Chelsea Lane in May Meadows Woods.
okay, thanks.
In reference to the generator, two different places within the proposal, one indicates it's powered by gas, another by diesel. Makes a big difference in how much noise it makes when it kicks off. I'm just curious what it's actually going to be powered by. My second question is, how does this affect our zoning? This is obviously a commercial application. Is there going to be rezoning involved? And if so, how extensive? I mean, are we looking 5 years from now and having a power field down there or something, or a solar field or what have you? Or are we going to be able to retain our residences as is with the current zoning?
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this application? Everyone online is part of the applicant team. Last chance. Okay, I will close the public hearing then, and please step back up, and I think you could probably answer the first question, and we'll refer the second one to Krista.
Yep, defer the second one. Just will say there is no rezoning that needs to be done here. And for the, sorry about this again, I'm pinch-hitting here on the generator, so I'm just looking through. For some reason, I thought it was propane. Matt, do you have, I know you've been looking into the generator. Do you know the fuel source?
It is a propane generator. Probably the confusion was it was initially, when we first started, we had proposed a diesel generator, and due to, we had switched to propane. I don't know if it was environmental or not, but it started at diesel and then went to propane. So it's currently a 50 kW propane generator.
Okay. And then, the zoning, it is a power overlay district. I don't, assume you could provide a kind of summary of how all that works.
Yeah, there's a whole separate ordinance that's related to telecommunications towers, and this is one of the areas where they're permitted. They're all different, they all have different height requirements. Of like where you need to site it. So there's different areas of town, but they are permitted use throughout town, based on those standards. The rezoning, I don't know if you're referencing the effort that was underway to do a rezoning for the whole town. That is underway. This is not related to that. But to your point, I understand what you're saying about that area being impacted by having a pole there and what the future uses are going to be. That's, it's not something where we could stop something that's permitted now per the current zoning with a view toward the future zoning. And I don't think that area would be, I don't think there's any contemplation right now, but my understanding is to reduce the scope of the telecommunications power ordinance with relation to the rezoning anyway. So. There is no need to do any rezoning for this. Nope, there's a separate ordinance that directs the planning board's review of this type of proposal.
Thank you, Kristen. Can we get back to the generator a little bit? It wasn't clear to me as I reread, number 3 in the noise, like, what are you planning to do enclosure wise and sound mitigation specific to the generator? What's your end point? What
Yeah,
did you-
and Matt's actually been in touch with the generator people, I believe, since today to nail that down. So Matt, if you want to just touch on the plan for the generator there.
Well, currently due to the ordinance at the lease line, that would, the current generator in the level 2, the standard Verizon level 2 sound enclosure, would be slightly above, I believe, estimated about 75 dBA at that line. So we are currently working with the generator manufacturer to look in. They do have some custom enclosures that they can design to hopefully mitigate us down that additional 5 dBA to get within the ordinance. And then if not, there's some other sound attenuating things that we might be able to do, such as something along the fence, some sound attenuating items along the fence on that side of the property. I mean, on that side where the generator is. So we are working on that, but as of right now, we don't have a set plan. That's why I believe it'd be a condition of approval.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, and I'll ask the board, that's something you're gonna have to address. Like, you're gonna have to get to the 70, so.
Agreed, yeah, absolutely. No waiver or anything like that, but you don't have to comply.
Yeah, I was thinking of like a condition before the building permit is issued that we demonstrate compliance to the CEO or planner and their satisfaction with this.
Yeah, I'm usually a fan of a lot of conditions like that. There's some that make sense, others you probably need to demonstrate it, so.
And I mean, and this one really is, it's as close as I think 2 or 3 decibels that we're talking about, and it's a really low decibel limit as well. So I mean,
Decibels is a lot of them, so 3 dB is a lot.
yeah, so no, we completely understand we have to meet it, so
Yeah.
we're working on doing that right now.
Okay. All right, let's hit some discussion points, for the board. So, buffering, can you point us to the buffering sheet so we can have some feedback there?
In the application.
And I mean, you're obviously not gonna buffer a tower, but to me, I'm more thinking about the ground level infrastructure, what the board thinks about any requirements there or not. It's, you know, it's buffered by being off on its own somewhat.
I don't think there was any landscaping.
I am a huge fan of landscaping, but I am inclined to agree because there's a lot, there's gonna be obviously a lot cleared in order for this to be built. But it appears that there will also be a lot of vegetation that will remain, that will naturally buffer the existing developments. And the other land that isn't developed, there's gonna be a pretty big buffer around it. Even after the development, the enclosure area is built, then it will begin to grow back up. I presume there's no need to keep the vegetation at bay, so you can let the, and I'm thinking of the other cell tower I'm familiar with in the Libby Hill area, which is pretty wooded around it. I don't know how long it's been there, but it's just the little area right around the tower that is open. So I don't think additional buffering of vegetation would be needed. I'd be comfortable without it. I believe I'm saying that. I don't think I've ever said that once, but.
I don't think you have either. Yeah, if this were probably in a different site, I'd be looking for some buffering around the ground level infrastructure, but I can't see that that really makes any sense.
And I would also offer that the fact that the public is here and that nobody's asked for that also is important. So if you're listening, public, and care about these things, you let us know, because we do care.
Related to the buffering, I will ask about site lighting. Obviously, the tower itself has its beacon, but what about,
The tower itself's not lit.
oh, that's right, because it's under your,
It's under 200
right,
feet.
yeah.
And the ordinance actually requires that it not be lit. Yeah. There's only one light. It's motion detecting. It's downward facing, security light right at the fence line for the entrance. It would only be used, for emergency maintenance.
Okay, so no 24/7.
No, it would only come on if someone had to do emergency maintenance at night there. The regular maintenance would occur once every, I think, 6 to 8 weeks, and that's done during the daytime.
So number 2, we gave you the feedback there that we, would like to see the, closest lot line surveyed and demonstrating compliance with the fall radius setback. So I guess I'll ask part 2, does the board want to see that before we approve it, or are you amenable to making that submission condition of approval and building permit issuance?
I agree that it should be done, but I think it could be conditional only because it's quite clear that this is set back well from the lot lines. So we want the records to be clear on exactly where it is on the face of the earth, but I don't think that there's a worry that they will not be compliant. So I'd be all right with it.
I support it. Okay, I could go along with that, so. Okay, so we're good. We'll do that. You're going to need to do it. It'll be a condition of approval and will be a date to your building permit. Okay, number 3. So, yeah, so this is another one. It's still not clear to me exactly where you landed. It sounds like you think you're done. I'm not sure Kristen agrees she has everything, but she thinks is needed. So I'll ask the same question to the board. Are you okay with this item for the historic sites assessment being also a condition of approval and building permit? Or do you want to see it?
Oh, I'm a little confused now. So the applicant has made the request of the proper authorities. And the 30 days for them to respond or to not respond and therefore having be deemed having no issues has just not passed yet. Is that?
I don't believe it's passed yet.
It hasn't passed yet, but that's the reason why if Adriana could speak to this, because I believe that Adriana actually sent these letters to those agencies all the way back in January as a part of the NEPA review.
Uh-huh.
So I think they've actually already issued these letters and we just sent them yet again from our office. And that 30 days hasn't hit. So Adriana, if you could just speak to the NEPA review and if you received letters back on that, that'd be great.
Hey, I can kind of go over, I guess, some more contextual information on this. So, Maine is unique in that we actually have to get our information from them in terms of what historic resources exist in a given visual radius. So Section 106 kind of starts at that point. That started in December of last year. They basically send us a letter. It's included in the NEPA report that states that there are no historic resources for the half-mile radius that is given for towers under 200 feet. At that point, we go forward with our other materials, which is the public notice. One was sent to your office, I believe, to a Doug Webster. There's also one sent to the Gray Historic Society, and then we also do a public notice that is posted in a local paper. In this one, we did the Lakes Region Weekly. All of that proof should be in the NEPA report as well. All parties are given 30 days to respond regarding historic properties that may be of importance to you, but may have, or, may not have appeared on the National Register list that the Maine SHPO has given us. Once everything is kind of completed, we wrap everything up in a report. We send it to the State Historic Preservation Office, and they have 30 days to respond. This can be hit or miss. I noticed that they tend to respond more when it's more urban, there's more historic properties, etc. But it's not necessarily guaranteed. In this case, since there were no historic properties identified in the radius, once that 30-day period closes, which was in April, we can kind of proceed and assume concurrence. So no response for no historic properties. A lot of times that can kind of go that way. If there were historic properties, we would have to escalate it to the Federal Communications Commissions, which was not the case here. But if you want the exact dates, I can pull them up for these items.
The 30 days has passed.
Yeah, she's saying April, yeah, I think there was some miscommunication.
Something's being communicated in my office with her office. Separately, which was taking place months before we got on board. So
Okay.
we sent the letters out and I talked with Adriana and realized she had sent those letters out months ago. So
Yeah, so I'm seeing here that we sent out the letter to the Historic Preservation Office on March 5th. So that would have expired for comment about April 5th. Given that there might be some changes based off of the comments today and what will require conditional approval, we'll probably send a second letter to them, which we call an addendum. But that will probably be a courtesy letter, considering it's not a major change to the tower. It's just going to be maybe moving the generators around and such, but we will also be letting them know of that once that happens.
Okay, so,
That's any information, so.
Yeah.
That's involved.
in your view, what document that they can submit satisfies a potential condition? Is, I don't see that we have any area of approval.
So we have,
This is still not, it's very amorphous.
right, we
like
have
to
the
have something.
submittal. We do
Yeah.
have a full submittal in hand. And if that timeline is backed up, where they're not required necessarily to respond, then that should be sufficient. I was under the impression that it had just been done, still in that 30-day window, so that's not the case currently. And that is
So
something.
they, this review, they have the opportunity to respond, and if they don't, and that expires, it assumes acceptance.
Like a DEP.
permit by rule.
Yeah, okay.
And that part of that is because this is a historical parcel. which would require a different process.
I think what Adriana is saying is that it's more common for them to reply if it is in an area, but be more apt to have an impact. It's not really very wooded area. Not to, I don't want to speak for her, but it's my understanding.
Okay, are we okay with this one? Yep.
Sounds like we are now.
Okay, the co-location letter. Just gonna read that one a little bit. Section.
Oh, the co-location letter is in that appendix I of this middle. It just doesn't have all the language that's in the ordinance. Some of the language in the ordinance is a little more specific, and I was just asking if the board wanted more language in there as for the, per the ordinance, or if they're building budgets.
Does this co-location relate to allowing carriers other than Verizon to use the tower?
Yes.
And that is an ordinance requirement that multiple carriers have to be able to. So
And
There's just stricter language in the ordinance, so it's off.
you have,
Is that this, here, 6285, yes. That's all these elements here. I was just asking the board if you want that level of specificity in there, or if you're good with it. Like
let's see,
you said.
yeah, so. The ordinance, this is, it speaks to the same thing, so it's more specific. With their very general short paragraph.
Oh,
I mean, is there any reason why you wouldn't modify that to incorporate the language? in
So no, I
the-
think I actually saw an email from. The fact that. Job. Buys exactly this. I think that.
Yeah, that's what it's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll want to see that then.
We set on the ordinance standards. I think this was their attempt at putting them in, but it just wasn't word for word.
I think that could be a difference.
Yeah, I mean, this one is close to the two. We're doing a lot of conditions. I don't want it. Comment on the noise limits for the generator. We already covered that. Any comments on simulated views? Anyone?
It was very helpful, to see them that way. Down towers, they're getting.
Okay, and then the last one, looking for the town to have a right to request placement of our own antenna. So would you agree to grant it? I don't like the length because we can always ask, but it doesn't mean anything.
No, we absolutely,
Could say is,
we had the client call this weekend. It's, we could absolutely. Do that.
so you agree to grant the town a spot on your tower
A spot on the tower.
if we ask for one?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we
It
should,
was just the language specific in your memo about the highest possible point that we were saying. We have to look at what the point it could be, but we can absolutely get it on.
right, that's the fire chief that
Yeah.
he was looking for at the highest possible point. I think that's potentially still workable. It's like,
It's-
what's
yeah.
the highest possible point?
We don't know until, yeah.
And he's
Wow.
not asking for one currently, just here for, he was asking for the, opportunity.
so just my point was with the language, but I don't want it to say we have the right to request. I want it to say that they agree to grant if we request.
Yes, the placeholder does.
Oh, that's what something does, okay. That was reading up above.
Okay,
Number 7.
so the edit would be removing at the highest possible point. How about an agreed upon location? On the tower?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it does include right to request. So yeah, that needs to be struck. The applicant shall agree to grant the town of Gray placement.
Okay. Yeah. And it doesn't really need to say on any tower approved by the town because the tower is being approved, so on the tower.
Yes. So we'll look at the placeholders, we'll keep 5, they did that.
Yeah. That's
So,
fine.
next we'll strike. And we'll keep 8, we'll keep, in the past, we had done things with, I think we requested a bond on that solar one, but it was a lot more. Inclusive construction.
Yeah, we might want some detail from the board. You want some sort of bond to bring it back to current condition, if you want them to document current condition, by photo or video, or what timeline you might want to bring it back to construction.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some conversation with them over this one. And then we didn't discuss Hammerhead, which I think is a good idea, so I don't know why they would do that. So let's talk a little bit about pre-construction condition. Just making sure we're all on the same page, of documenting it and what you're going to do and.
Absolutely. So that's pretty standard and what we anticipated that it would be a condition, bring it back up. Happy to do, Matt, maybe if you want to speak to this a little bit on the sites, but we can certainly do a full kind of photos of pre-construction before anything starts. And then once it's fully constructed, post photos. And if that satisfies the board's requirement there, I think more than happy to do that. Matt, unless you have any other ideas, please weigh in.
No, that sounds good. I mean, typically we would always go out and do construction inspections and final inspections. So as part of our process, but I guess, yeah, we just have to make sure we got document prior to construction.
I might add to this, suggest adding to this one, that it's to the satisfaction of staff. So that they can take their pre-construction photos and videos and post-construction, and they can do a walkthrough with Mr. or Tammy or whoever is appropriate.
And then I have another question on this condition. The timing of when it'll be back up to pre-construction? How long after you're finished will it go back to pre-construction?
Matt, I'll let you answer that one.
I guess I'm not 100% sure clear on the question. How long?
So you
Or-
completed construction, will you will it be back to pre-construct, like the tower is up and functioning?
Yep.
When will the road be back to pre-construction levels? 30 days after that? At the same time that the tower's up? What does that, when is it?
Is this
when will it be
Chelsea
back?
Lane that you're speaking of,
Yes,
or?
Chelsea Lane, when will it be back to pre-construction conditions?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't expect there to be. We're just, they'll just be bringing in some construction trucks down Chelsea Lane. I don't foresee damage to Chelsea Lane happening. But I guess we could put it as a condition that the contractor verifies that within 30 or 60 days. Like I said, I don't foresee
Right, well, why don't we put
Damage.
30 days?
Let's say 60.
60?
Just
Okay.
because trying to coordinate, or I don't want them to have to come back for an extension.
Okay. So instead of at completion of site construction, it'll be, no later than 60 days after site construction. Right?
Satisfaction of town staff.
Can I just read that condition? So
Sure.
the applicant shall, no later than 60 days after completion of site construction, repair Chelsea Lane to the satisfaction of town staff to its pre-construction condition as documented by video/photo series.
Sure.
Okay. And then the applicant agreed to install a hammerhead turnaround for the purposes of plowing and safety access.
Yeah, so where would the hammerhead be? Or are you envisioning the hammerhead being at the tower lease site or where Chelsea Road currently ends? I think that's just kind of a question.
Typically, they look, public safety will look for it beyond, just beyond the site, so if they had to access the site, they could still turn around the vehicle.
Okay.
But
It's the private road, so it's being plowed by the owners of the road and it's gravel anyway. The town's not involved in plowing it, but we need a place for a emergency vehicle to turn around. That's what it is.
that's the thing, it's got to run by it. Right. So if they had to pull up alongside, if they had to, let's say they had to access it and go in the new access toward the actual site,
Mhm.
they would still have to back out of there and back around. I guess the thought behind that comment was making sure that a tail is still left.
Okay.
So like it doesn't just turn off into the site and there's nothing.
And there's nothing, yeah. Okay.
It turns off into the site and it's still a little bit of road.
So, yeah.
It has to turn off, that would allow.
Right.
We can double check that with, if that's something you guys want to approve, I can certainly speak to the fire chief about that again, and make sure everything's ready.
His request was at the end of Chelsea Lane, not at the site of the top.
Site.
So, like, to me, that's what he
He wants it there.
basically got.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, could it, just a possible condition then to work with the fire chief, to make sure that there's adequate access and egress for fire equipment to access the site?
Yeah, maybe we
I'd
can,
be afraid it's like saying hammerhead if we don't.
yeah, we don't know where.
You can add to mine, maybe to satisfy.
There is a turnaround designed at the end of the road right before the compound. It's 25 feet by 50 feet. I don't know if that satisfies your concern.
You could probably want to have the chief in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's something you want to move forward with.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna add that to the satisfaction of staff to that condition. Okay,
Okay. Page,
okay. All right.
very happy with those.
Okay, do we decide the boundary survey, okay, of just the southeasterly portion of the parcel, not the whole parcel, and that condition reflects that?
Like, that condition reflects all of the lot lines that are somewhat close to that kind of fall down circle.
Okay,
If you only want the one that's closest, that would be amended.
no, I like the closest to the fall down. So. Oh, the whole, but
I'm fine with it, how it's written. It'd be a big burden. Right,
And fees, if I could be in hands for the discussion on.
yeah, so that's not needed, should it be struck or? Should we leave it?
It's been submitted.
Okay,
I would leave it,
okay. Okay,
just leave it, it wasn't really clear to me that we didn't get it, and. leave it.
okay, Ready for a motion?
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the application from Towerco LLC to construct a new wireless telecommunications facility on a 3,600 square foot leased area on the 84.86 acre Charlene E. Durgin Living Trust parcel at 67 North Raymond Road, tax map 13, parcel 10-9-00 in the rural residential and agricultural and reg zoning districts. This proposal is subject to planning board review, Clay Council ordinance chapter 47, and is subject to the following conditions. Conditions 1 through 4 listed in the board's memo, plus the following conditions. The applicant, condition number 5, the applicant shall submit an updated co-location letter, including all the language in section 406.6.2.A 5A through D. Condition number 6, the applicant shall enclose the generator and or add silencing equipment to ensure the decibel level meets the standards of 407.7.1.n during generator operation. Condition 7, the applicant shall, no later than 60 days after completion of site construction, repair Chelsea Lane to the satisfaction of town staff to its pre-construction condition as documented by video and photo series. Condition number 8, the applicant shall install a full hammerhead turnaround to the end of Chelsea Lane for the purposes of plowing and public safety access to the satisfaction of town staff. Condition number 9, the applicant shall agree to grant the town a gray placement of a public safety antenna at an agreed upon point on the tower. And condition number, the 10th condition will be the condition numbered 11 in the memo. Or is that up?
Okay, is there a second? Any discussion? Nope. Favor? Unanimous. Congratulations, you have your approval.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right, no, not now. Back to the beginning.
Okay. Now we'll go back to old business. So this is, the first one will be a subdivision preliminary and final plan review of Westin Woods. This is a request by 519 Morgan Meadows LLC, represented by Caleb Ulip, for planning board preliminary and final plan review of a proposal to create the 4-lot Westin Woods subdivision on his 25.45 plus or minus acre property at the end of Morgan Meadow Drive, off Totten Road at tax map 57, lot 23-81 in the rural, residential, and agricultural zoning district. This proposal is subject to major subdivision review. Welcome, and thank you for your patience.
Again, Caleb Bulick, as you mentioned, here to hopefully finalize the preliminary and final approval for the 4-lot subdivision on my property on Morgan Meadows. Last meeting, I think we had come to terms on everything except for the erosion and sedimentation control plan, which has been completed by engineering and submitted.
Yeah, so this one, we nearly finished everything. The graded
Yeah,
our,
that was the only thing at the end. And you guys have the plan. It shows that everything is treatable by the buffers on each individual lot, which will be shown on the plan for each lot. And no additional stormwater management is required other than the buffers.
Kristen, on this staff comments. Is there anything with culverts and driveways that we need board guidance on. That's all.
The only thing was that the table didn't match the road detail plan on the housekeeping.
I mentioned that, so there's gonna be a couple more things that we have to complete on the base of the plan before we do the final, before we file it. So I just said we'll get together, hash out whatever that discrepancy is on the culvert when we do the language on the fiscal plan as far as like the, road association, and things like that, so. So I think that was the only piece missing on the culverts, with that one discrepancy.
Yeah, I think was the intent to retain the 30-foot culvert for that lot through driveway, the end of the way, effectively.
So I'll have to get with him on that because, as it's shown, it doesn't need one. Tim was fine with that, but then I think the engineering was like, well, if they want us to show a culvert on every driveway, we're gonna put one on every driveway. So I just need to clarify that, yeah.
If on culverts and driveways.
I don't know if this relates to that or not, but I see a placeholder on the draft motion about stormwater buffers being marked. Is that?
That is part of the input from the consulting engineer.
Okay,
It has been fairly typical in recent subdivisions. Once you buy the lot, you don't really do any of this, so you don't know the homeowner.
yeah,
So it's helpful to have a little sign that says, yeah, you don't do anything here.
right, gotcha, okay, so we're gonna keep that.
That's up to the board. If you feel like that's necessary or not, but that's where that comes from.
Okay, thank you.
And then on stormwater, you have a engineering review that was provided separately. Do you have any, objections or anything in that?
Oh, on the management plan, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I know it's like a stealth.
So, yeah, so I'm talking about the Goral Palmer peer review.
Oh,
We made a number of comments.
I guess I didn't see that. I just have questions on that.
That was back in right up full board.
And I made,
Some comments, some things that need to be addressed in the face of the plan. Speaking to the,
or I'm sorry, I thought it was a new attachment on the memo, that's right. I was confused with that question. So yeah, just a sub-base question, stormwater, the culvert question again. I mean, I guess these are questions and then if they're not already provided, by them, but
some of them are notes on the plans.
Yeah. I think, I'll ask, but I think in general, the approval is going to incorporate basically that you're gonna do everything in this memo, so.
okay. Yeah, and I think most of them.
We're gonna require all of them, so.
What's that?
Just so you say.
Yeah.
We're-
So does anyone, I don't have any comments beyond what you.
Same.
And then we're in agreement with the change of the suggested by the consulting engineer, right?
Mhm.
Right. So. We can do our preliminary and final approvals. If we agree with the following conditions are met. A, no approvals required from the NDP. Site location of development acts, stormwater law, or natural resource protection act, other than permit by rule. And we agreed to provide a waiver from the requirements, well, we didn't agree with that, but they've done it, so. We need to read that. And, if the application contains all other applicable submissions required. Except for those which a great waiver was granted.
We did grant some money.
We granted two, yeah.
Oh, first review complete.
So I think we're good to go there, right? There's nothing assumed on the first one,
Where this was the last outstanding piece.
right?
Fine.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, so we can do completeness and then, we confirm it for preliminary and final.
Move to find an application by 519 Morgan Meadows LLC represented by Caleb Hewlett complete per 401.7.1E for planning board preliminary and final plan review. This proposal is to create a 4-lot subdivision on 25.45 plus or minus acre property at the end of Morgan Meadow Drive off Taunton Road at map 57 lot 23-81 in the rural residential and agricultural zoning district. Proposals not subject to major subdivision review.
The second. Discussion. Nope. All in favor? That is unanimous.
Move to approve the application by 519 Morgan Meadows LLC represented by Caleb Hewlett for planning board preliminary and final plan review of proposals to create a 4-lot subdivision on a 25.45 plus or minus acre property at the end of Morgan Meadow Drive off Taunton Road at tax map 57, lot 23-81 in a rural residential and agricultural zoning district. Proposal subject to major subdivision review and is subject to the following conditions. 1 through 6. Including at, after 6A and B of the conditions in the board. Condition C, stormwater buffers shall be marked prior to site clearing and permanently delineated with signs prior to building permit issuance. And the listed condition at 6D shall also be included as a condition.
Second on that. Second. Discussion. Favor. All right. Off and running.
Thank you.
Give it up and then. Yeah, we can follow up on.
All right, thanks. Okay, next up, this is a subdivision sketch plan review, Durgin Woods. This is a request by Andrew Gervais of Durgin Woods Development LLC, represented by BH2M Engineering for planning board sketch plan review of a proposal to create the 51 lot phased Durgin Woods subdivision on the 144 plus or minus acre Gervais property at tax map 41. Lot 13-20-01 to include a portion of the abutting 25.28 plus or minus acre Jacob Rogers property at tax map 41, lot 13-20-02 in the rural residential and agricultural zoning district. This proposal is subject to major subdivision review.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Austin Fagan, with BH2M, representing both Andy Jervis and Jervis Homes and Alex Rogers. This project may look familiar to you folks. This was reviewed back in April of 2024, I believe, for a much smaller project. This is off of Ramsdale Road. So originally, back when we saw it, it was a 13-lot subdivision that came to the edge of the second phase that's shown on this plan. Since that time, Andy has worked with his abutters in order to, based on staff comments, define that Panoramic Lane, which is where Alex's property comes in. So we've been working pretty closely with Kristen and other staff in order to develop a sketch plan that you see up front of your night. So this is a 51 lot residential open space subdivision. It will be a mix of residential open space lots and conventional lots. To be exact, 38 residential open space lots and 13 conventional lots. We are looking to now permit the entire project with you folks. It's my understanding that the entirety of the project will go through preliminary review, and As you can see, there's 5 phases. After speaking with Andy, I think that phase 1 and 2 may be blended, just to kind of kickstart the project and get things moving along. That would involve the preliminary approval for the entire project that you'll review. And then because it's a phased approach, there will be final approvals for the separate phases as time goes on. Just, you have to close out one phase in order to get to the next one, so on and so forth. There was a site walk that was held on the property back in April of 2024, so quite some time ago. I was not present. Walter from my office was. It was my understanding that, multiple abutters showed up, people from the ATV clubs, snowmobile clubs, and local land management agencies. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what they're called. But so there was some conversation with, keeping the existing snowmobile and ATV trail that meanders through the property. We have taken that into consideration for this updated design that you see. And there's also an intent to provide an easement along that trail so that it will be held, the right to utilize it will be held with the town and the ATV clubs to make sure that we're not cutting off access to anybody that may utilize the property at the current time. We do understand that based on the previous sketch plan review, that there will be improvements that need to be made to Ramsdale Road. I believe it was ditching that was required at the time, just in order to make some improvements, make sure that that road stays in good condition and improved condition. Something that you may have seen in the staff review memo was a comment on traffic. Based on the size of this project being 51 lots, we do anticipate this needing a more thorough traffic review than you may see with some of the smaller projects. I believe it was anything over 140 trips per day would require that review. Phases 1 and 2, which, like I said, will most likely be coming as just one phase, would not likely trip that. But in order to look at the whole project, it's something that'll have to be done now. So you'll have everything to look at, whether it be a final approval now for everything or not. Something that was brought up at the last review was a site distance needed to be measured. We have a similar location to the proposed road entrance off of Ramsdale Road. And when my survey crew gets out there to do all the topography and make sure we can have a good design on this road, they'll also be measuring site distance to make sure that we meet town requirements for that. This being a relatively large project, it will require review from both the Department of Environmental Protection and Army Corps of Engineers. This will require a site location of development act permit with the main DEP, which is the most rigorous review that they put through for stormwater and development review. So that'll take some time. As you may have seen with a lot of your projects, the DEP is relatively backed up now. It takes some time to get reviews done. So this is something that we will be working with them for, and we will do it as diligently and quickly as possible, whatever that may mean. We have received some input from town staff on roadway requirements for the different branches that are shown in the plan. There's a main road that would connect Ramsdale to Tamarack potentially, and then there are 3 branches off of those. We now have a better understanding of what we need to do for design purposes for that. So it's much appreciated for Kristen and the other staff members working together to figure that out for us. One thing based on staff comments that I would like to touch on tonight are buffers and open space. So as you may see on the plan, there are 4 conventional over 80,000 square foot lots that are proposed along the existing Ramsdale Road frontage. There's a line that's shown on it of a 50-foot setback, which reflects, as you may recall from the Mayall subdivision that Andy had recently done. The conventional lots had a 50-foot buffer on the front of them that were deed restricted to only have access or clearing for the driveways. If that's something that the board would allow on these conventional lots in order to qualify for buffering along Ramsdale Road, that would be awesome. I'm not sure if that's something that we can touch on or something that you have looked into, but happy to talk about that. And then with the open space, I did read the comments. It looks like there is a requirement for parks within 500 feet of every lot. I didn't get a chance to look deeper into the ordinance on that. Kristen, you may be able to shed some light on it for me. There are some locations that we've shown with open space that are scattered throughout the property. 500 foot to every lot would definitely, we could provide access to open space in those areas. Having a separate park every 500 feet, I kind of chop it up a little bit. I'm not sure what the definition is. I know it's a 60,000 square foot spot is required. So maybe we can just take some time and cover what we might be looking for recreation space and things like that. Other than that, rather large project, but should be pretty smooth going with the work that we front loaded with Kristen on this, and happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is just sketch plan tonight for the decisions. Is there any specific guidance you're looking for from us?
Buffering, I guess would be in terms of along Ramsdale Road, I believe so. There's 30 feet required around the entire perimeter, sides and rear of the property, and it says for a residential open space subdivision, there's 75 feet along the front of the project, and it cannot be part of a lot. So realistically, where those are conventional lots, I believe there's a bit of a gray area, and it would be open to board interpretation. So we'd be happy to hear your opinions on that and see if you think the conventional buffering may be adequate for this.
All right, sounds good. So just gonna walk through the memo. So starting with staff comments on road improvements. So these comments are all kind of specific to the previous project, which was much smaller, and the thing that's on my mind, and I'm not gonna have an answer tonight, but this is a pretty large project, and I don't know. I think that there's gonna have to be a traffic study for sure, which is number 2. That kind of leads into like what other potential offsite improvements might be required.
Yeah,
Like, I'm thinking of the intersection of Ramsdale Road.
right.
With 115, like, I don't, at some point, and I don't know what it is, there's an effect there. So we're gonna need to consider that.
The other thing that I'm curious about, and the further that we get in will tell us, maybe the traffic study or other road improvements that I think years ago, Ramsdale was very bumpy and rough, and it has been repaved. But I don't know what its base is like. I don't know what improvements were made, if it's been made more durable so that it can handle this additional traffic, but it's possible that maybe ditching is enough, but sometimes we slap some pavement on a road and it looks pretty for a while, but if it doesn't have a good base and it gets used a lot, it looks like a short order. So I would be interested to know if the state of the road itself is in need of further improvements, or if it doesn't make sense to do it now, wait for it. If it's gonna get hit hard and wear out sooner than it would have otherwise, then I think we need to make accommodation for that, because it used to be in bad shape, and I don't know if the work that was done assumes heavy traffic. Do up my book of public works, I think so. I just would hate to get the, site distances and other things to handle the traffic. Then just the volume of traffic wears out the road longer than ever we all were sort of.
And the other consideration we'll need to talk about is like where, if there are things like that that come into play, when,
Yeah.
right? Because they're phasing this, and
Right.
they're starting with 1 or now a combined 1 and 2, which may not create the need, but at some point, where
They don't get the permit for the next phase until they're
Right.
done this.
I guess what I'm saying is, phase 3, phase 4, there's some point where there may be additional work needed. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's not, maybe there is, but that's, I think, gonna be some of our discussion.
Yeah.
So I think the traffic study would be critical starting point, so we know where to talk from.
We-
And then the input from public works. I think there are two things we want. Jen, yeah, any additional comments on any of that?
Nope, no, really.
Site distance, I mean, that. How are you going? I don't think we really have much
At least there's
feedback
only
there.
one road coming in and those two driveways, so you don't have a lot of. Entrances to that.
So, again, they want individual driveways.
I think I'm recalling that stretch is decent. I mean, the site distance is what it is.
Yeah, that stretch of road where those two off will be is relatively flat.
Yeah, I don't see any feedback in the here.
This isn't a driveway entrance, but on this plan that's sheet 1 here, can you remind me of where the snowmobile trail is? Is that kind of hash with a dot?
Yeah, so it starts in between lots 1 and 2.
Okay,
There's a dash, like, it looks like the small offset between 2 dash lines.
okay,
That sort of meanders through the property, crossing, into lot 23 and then next to 19. And following out towards the, I guess the plan north side of the page.
okay, I see, that's
Yeah,
it.
so it bisects it more or less diagonally along the more square portion of the property.
And so that would be maintained. So, my question on that is when you say it would be maintained, would it be maintained for public accessibility? So that, I'm thinking especially of the Fayabrook Preserve, which is across the street. The idea that, we can connect green space.
Yeah.
From there to here and maintain that. And then who would maintain and keep that clear?
It's a great question. That's something that we can work with, the ATV and snowmobile clubs and the conservancy to figure out who would have control over that, where it is an easement to the town or whomever it may be.
Right.
Maybe maintenance would be handled similarly to how it is now. I believe it would be the ATV clubs and things like that maintain it.
Yeah, I don't think I would burden the applicant or the owners with maintaining.
No, I just was curious what they were gonna do. I would say that my guess is that, given what I know, the land trust across the way I am involved in, and they were working with the, snowmobile club, but that snowmobile club just, it's kind of disbanded and hasn't really been able to do what they were planning to do across the street. So I don't think they're likely to be able to step up. I'm not saying that it's your responsibility, but if the public has access to it, having access that isn't maintained, it's possible that the land trust might be willing to accept an easement over this, and maintain it. It's possible. I don't know, but that it's something, because somebody has to hold the easement, in order for it to last.
Yeah, so you don't want to say just go to the town as an easement.
Well, I mean, I don't mind if it goes to the town, but the town then has, it doesn't do any good if it doesn't get maintained and get cleared. So, I think that's something, maybe, explore it with, the land trust that holds the land across the street.
Yeah.
Which is the Royal River Land Trust, to see what they're interested in there. Because having an easement that isn't maintained to do good.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the feedback at the site were people that were part of the ATV snowmobile club, and I don't know what the land trust position on that is, but
I know that
yeah,
it's running across the trust land right now. I
I
think
mean, that's the objective, is to keep it open as a trail connector.
that's right.
Not to, convey it to someone that then says it's only for foot traffic or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that the nature of the easement could resolve that issue, but anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to flag the need to, someone's gotta own that thing.
Absolutely.
Any comments on the roadway plans? I don't have any really.
One question.
Yeah.
Let's see, Brand. Maybe number 3, looks like it goes to the end of the property.
Yes.
Is there another road on the other side that it connects to, or another right of way, or is that just?
Yeah, there's not right now. So one of the requirements is to provide, easements for future connection to abutting parcels in case they may be developed.
Okay,
So that's the intent of that one.
gotcha.
We're already gonna be putting some houses right there. There's no natural resources in the immediate area that we can tell would be affected by placing a road there if it needed to connect to an abutting parcel. So that seemed like an ideal spot for us to make that connection.
Gotcha, okay, just,
Okay, so buffer. Got feedback on the buffer and the footage.
I would be inclined to wanna see the larger buffer, even if the lots immediately on the frontage are conventional, only because this whole, if, once this is fully developed, it's going to look dramatically different, the whole thing. So the fact that the first few lots are conventional and not open space, smaller ones, I would lean towards the, I think it's 75-foot buffer on the frontage. Yeah, on the Ramsdale Road frontage, because most of this development is going to be very dense. That's my thought there.
Now, would you be agreeable to, there being a 75-foot buffer on those lots that are a no cut requirement in the deed language? So the area can be counted towards the property, but not utilized whatsoever? More or less, so it'd be like there would be a 75-foot buffer on these lots, but say the applicant wanted to put a duplex on one of these lots. You could do that.
Yeah.
But you would still have the 75-foot buffer.
Sure. I think that sounds all right to me. I just like to see a buffer that's bigger than what, 30? That's not bad. I'm curious what the other board numbers look.
Well, I think it's a pretty good idea to have a bigger buffer.
But I think it's okay if it's on the lot, as a no build versus not being part of the lot and then pushing the lot. Because I almost like that a little bit better, because then it keeps the development more dense. Because if you push it back, then it just pushes everything further into the open space, which isn't ideal.
Yeah, so I am definitely on board with the larger buffer along Ramsdale Road. But yeah, it's almost very similar to the site walk that we did last week, where it's a different setup with the parallel road with the houses really far back, and it preserves the main road, and then the development can be within itself further back. So I am definitely on board with that. Don't think I have any objections to it being on the lot. Seems like an okay compromise. Do you have any issue with that?
Also a little bit of a totally different animal, because it's a mix of traditional and
Okay.
RMS lots, and that's part of one of the other questions I was raising for you too, and these kind of options that are bullet pointed. We've got, typically you would put the perimeter buffer around the residential open space lots. Kind of asking the board, does that make sense to put it in between?
Between phases.
It's not, no, it's not in just phases, because
So we're doing like that lot 4 and 6. Started kind of a natural buffer with about 5 and 7. Then you need one between 10 and 12.
Yeah, and you'd also be doing the perimeter buffer around the entire project, that is a requirement of the entire parent parcel, so you're bringing in the edges. Do you want to bring in the edges for the whole thing, including the traditional lots or not, or do you want to forego the perimeter buffer in its entirety? Those are one of the early things to get clarity on, because that really affects the number of lots they're able to have. So that's one of the bigger pieces, I think, that would be helpful to think about. So that level of input and how you handle things.
That was a really good point, that it's a perimeter buffer instead of just the frontage. I was just thinking about frontage, but I do think that more of a buffer around the whole thing, because once this starts getting fully developed, the fact that there's even a 75 like, it's gonna dramatically alter the way this land looks and the neighborhood and how the land works and how the wind, and I mean, it's just a big development. So, the most buffering that we can get around those edges, I think will help. And
But, yeah, especially over.
yeah, exactly. And that's
Existing.
right, for sure. So, and I think that the importance of that buffering around the perimeter where we have the ability to require that and not just on the developed parcels is a way to preserve, the nature a little bit more of this space. So I'd like to see how can we require a 75-foot buffer around the perimeter? How much of a buffer can we get? So around the perimeter.
It's different. Residential open space requires it 75 to the road and 30 on the side and rear. So the entire parent parcel.
Okay,
So
so I'd say, yeah, at 30 on the side and rear and 75 on the front. But I do think that it's a little trickier on the smaller lots, but it's only 30 feet, that it could be, a buffer that's a no cut versus pushing the lot itself over, because then you're pushing that into the wetlands.
Yeah, just for reference on this, so we do show the 30-foot buffer around the entire perimeter, which is like the small gap that you may see between the
Okay,
colored line, the colored
Okay.
areas and the exterior boundary line.
okay, so that's already shown.
Exactly.
Okay,
So that is a no contest for us. We're happy to
okay,
provide that, and that works just fine.
okay. You just had the question on the front.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think the other question that Kristen was bringing up was, if we're gonna need buffering between lots within the subdivision, since one is conventional and one would be a residential open space. At the end of the day, the only difference between these lots is that, you may be able to put a duplex on a conventional lot if that's something that is wanted. But it'll still be part of the same development. So I would ask if you folks would be okay with no buffer in between lots that are part of the development itself.
I don't,
Would you be willing to have like a 50-foot no cut exterior perimeter buffer in exchange for no internal buffering?
Yeah, I can absolutely see if we can make that work.
That's just me asking.
I like it. I like the way you think.
We can maximize it to the greatest extent. As you can see, it's a fair amount of infrastructure required for this one, so we'd like to try and maximize the amount of lots without, like you said, expanding further into the project. But we'll make that buffer as big as we can if that's what folks are looking for.
you prefer thicker around the perimeter of the whole thing?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the only place where it wasn't showing is lot 25. Next
Mhm.
to the logic piece, I think that might be it.
Oh, yeah, so right.
But the rest of it is.
Yeah.
And then along with that, we require something, so it's shown as out of Rogers right now, but that's actually the Jacob Rogers piece. So that's gonna be conveyed out prior to any formal submission of this, just in order to make sure that it is not part of the subdivision. This lot right here, would be its own, and this would be a transfer. So would you require a buffer along the back of 23, 24, 25, or what would the board's view on that be? Or technically, it's not part of the subdivision, but
Well, yeah, but 3 lots are part of the subdivision.
yes,
And in that case, is that a front?
I think that would be a rear because it's not a road frontage.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So really, realistically, it could be a 30-foot buffer.
Or as long as you do that, so that we don't have to require buffering internally.
Do you want to say what the best of their 23, 24, 25?
Yeah.
How that is first.
Yeah.
Solicitation of this for lot 25. Would that need to be, do you think, I won't hold you to it because we can look further into it. Would that be a 30-foot buffer, or since it's abutting a residential property, or what would your thought on that be?
I think the language of the ordinance is the outer perimeter of the parent parcel.
Okay,
So, yeah, it would permit being 30. It is to an existing residential lot. Yeah, the Palisade as well, the Tamarack. So I think that's part of why you didn't show it on 25 potentially.
might have just been an oversight when we added it after the fact.
Yeah, if the board wants to speak to that, that's up to you guys. If you don't think we need to perimeter buffer here because it's abutting a residential piece, roadway,
Well, yeah, there could definitely be a buffer.
Or even more so.
it is perimeter.
Okay. Good space, so, thank you again for, considering the, trail connection. I think that'll make a lot of people happy, so that was, most of the interest of the site walk, as I remember, so. It's much appreciated. What details do you need from us? I mean, a lot of it, some of this stuff is in the ordinance, so you either need to do it or ask for a waiver. You know, love to grant, but yeah, there's a good reason why what you're proposing is equivalent or better than what the ordinance requires. There is that room.
So is the 500-foot distance from every lot a requirement in the ordinance? Do you know, Kristen?
Yeah, so I'm checking right now.
Right.
500, so I think it's typically contemplated on a smaller subdivision, but they're 500 feet to the common park area. We've done it before, and in our previous subdivisions, we would allow them to do 2 separate spaces, area spaces. They did one in the front, so it'd be closer to those lots, and one closer to the back. So you can do multiple common park areas. This one has a lot of open space, more than required. So I don't know if you have feedback for him where you might want like an improved or larger common park area that is not 500 feet. I think that would be really hard to find the actual language, but otherwise you're talking about several smaller areas.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on what your vision for common park area is. What are you looking for the people who live there to get out of it?
And additionally, you know, based on the past subdivision that Andy's done, we know that sidewalks are preferred, and you know, with the larger roads in here, I'm assuming sidewalks are going to be required. So there will be connection, whether it be 500 feet or 1,200 feet, and there will be direct access to open space from every lot. So more or less, just if we're going to need to do more of a set of pocket parks, things like that, where you might have a small area, or like Kristen said, a larger area that everybody has the ability to access, just not within 500 feet of every parcel where there's, you know, such an expanse of the property.
I don't know, I think my thought would be propose what you want to do. And if it doesn't meet the ordinance, come with your narrative for why it's better than what's required. How's that for a starting point?
It's a great spot to start.
Like, I don't, like, for us to sit here and
Yeah.
tell you we want 7 parks, so, you know, that just doesn't make sense for us to do design work for you, so I think, you know, just know that the ordinance is the starting point, and anything that you don't do requires a waiver, so to get a waiver, you have to have a good reason, so.
Okay.
If you have a good reason, we're open to it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Trail, we covered the trail, discussion points. Giving feedback on the buffer. I think public works, we want to sort of see I think, a more comprehensive assessment with what's coming from public works, not just what is, but you know, when it's fully built out or partially built out. Want to hear their thoughts on that. I don't know that I don't have any comments on the layout or the potential connection.
Just have a question, and maybe I could read the tiny font of notes, they would tell me, but it's been a while since we've been out here. I don't recall it being a super wet site. Some of the open space does look to be upland, but the little, dashed sort of white areas, are those the wetlands?
Yes,
Okay.
so, yeah, if it's, you know, the flatter topography through there, those are the wetlands.
Okay,
You're right, there's more channelized areas and pockets of wetlands.
Yeah.
As you may recall, like I said, I wasn't there for the site walk, but it is a, relatively rolling site. So more or less in areas where, you know, there's a valley, those are usually wet.
Yeah.
The streams have been delineated, all natural resources have been delineated on, both this site and the Rogers property.
okay,
So yes, those are those. And there's also, something to note, 2 significant vernal pools that were located on the property. And we have avoided those, to, you know, the limits that will be allowed by DEP. No building within 100 feet of them and only disturbing 25% of the critical terrestrial habitat within 250 feet. So that's all something that will be reviewed and permitted by DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers along the way.
and is it a stream that's running along lot 2 and 23 and
Yes.
lot 2, that's the stream?
Correct.
Is that Thayer Brook or what's that?
To be honest with you, I'm not positive.
It's green.
I can look into that for you and put the name of it if there is one on the plan.
Thank you, I just wanted to kind of, it's hard to read in this particular format.
There's a lot going on in the plan too. So.
And then the last one, comments on open space trail connection. There's one, can I borrow this for a second? There's only one thing I thought I saw last time. Yeah. Yeah, just, so the one doesn't really matter to me a whole lot, but at the front, the trail sort of meanders over both lots 1 and 2.
Yep.
So that means you need to encumber both of those lots.
Yes.
I didn't know if you could do anything with the lot lines. You know, it's up to you really, but.
Yeah, that's,
found a way where it's only on one lot. Might be a benefit, but I don't think it really matters to us.
Yeah.
Note that both of those get encumbered by that easement.
Understood. Yeah, it's one of those ones, you know, do you try and straighten it out and impact more stuff, or just let it meander and make it work? But we'll take a second look at it and see what we can do.
I mean, I'm not asking you to look at it, I'm just saying, you know,
It will be encumbered, yeah.
yeah. Leaving it's fine with us or me, I don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather see you leave it how it is than reroute it and, you know, clear more area and cause confusion, so.
Absolutely.
Anything else from anyone?
For the clarification, I think I mostly read, when I wrote the memo, I think I might have misread this, the 500 feet, I believe, is to the open space. not necessarily to the common park area. The open space, that's the way it reads, all lots in the open space subdivision shall be located within 500 feet of the commonly owned open space to ensure practicable access.
Oh, well,
So it is to the general open space and not the campus, that's not saying, so you don't need to worry about it. All these 500 feet to the common park area, and I think they all are within, like you said, they all have access to the regular open space, so.
Thank you for that.
You are, I heard you say you're planning to do sidewalks throughout.
I would imagine that that would be a requirement with a development of this size based on it being a requirement of the previous project that we worked on.
Yeah.
So we will definitely take that into consideration.
Yep.
Like that bullet.
Sidewalk, I don't think we need to get over that again, do you?
we're getting into.
We're all set with it. Yeah, we're all set with the sidewalk then. Anything else you want from us while you're here?
No, but I sure do appreciate your time and thanks for all the comments.
Okay, so I'll just kind of say again, and this is just for me, the traffic is the big kind of concern on my mind and, you know, what happens when it's fully built out, so.
Sounds good. We will get moving on get someone lined up to review that and get you the information as soon as we have it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, got one more. On to new business. This is a site plan amendment pre-application conference, Coal Farms. This is a request by Bradley Pollard for planning board. Site plan amendment pre-application conference for a proposal to add restaurant and drive-through uses. 12,661 square foot plus or minus portion of the structure at 64 Lewiston Road. On the 5.83 acre parcel at tax map 27, parcel 25-34-00 in the commercial and light manufacturing overlay zoning districts. This proposal is subject to major site plan amendment review, conditional use reviews, and light manufacturing overlay zoning district standards. Property is also subject to medical cannabis performance standards of 402.8.7 due to the two existing uses on site: cannabis caregiver retail and cannabis caregiver cultivation.
Evening, welcome. Brandon Pollard, 193 Mayall Road. As you mentioned, here to get pre-application for kind of bringing business back to the family business. I think we've got a handful of ideas as far as what we'd like to do within the space. And one of them involves adding a drive-through on the Route 100 side of the building. And I know in the notes here, there is mention of it being for restaurant use. I think first of all, I'd like to kind of set the precedent here that Coal Farms as a restaurant will no longer be an option. That model of restaurant is hard to maintain at this point in the economy. So what we'd like to use is Coal Farms as an umbrella to hold multiple DBAs within it. And one of those businesses would be a coffee, small menu breakfast drive-through window, and some other businesses within the building. Also, I think we're just kind of getting the ball rolling on getting the approval so that we can use the space. I know it's been a while, and we're at the point now where it's been vacant to the point where we have to kind of reissue the use of restaurant. So that's why we're here.
All right. next. So there's a lot in this one. And I had a hard time kind of thinking about how we want to approach this, because there's some stuff that's just sort of, details that they need to take care of at the town. There's some stuff that needs our input. So I don't want to get hung up. It's sort of two different things. So see how this goes.
So, I guess before we get too deep into any of them, this is John, who's the consulting engineer on the project.
Okay. All right,
And,
great.
he's kind of developed the map here for us, the overlay of a Waynewood property map. I know that, with, my addition or recent addition to the building with the cannabis store, I think most of us are familiar with all of this. We've done a lot of changes to the site map, and now we're looking to do some more. There's some addition to, the curbing that is going on in front of the building. There'll be some, an elimination of an entrance and exit, that's closest to the building. And, that's gonna be for the introduction of traffic traffic flow around the building for the drive-through. We also added some curbing along, actually, it's, over here to kind of mitigate flow in this area. We're adding lines back to this southern end of the parking area, as in order to, kind of for the traffic that will now be coming in and out of this main entrance. We've got a safety barrier here, kind of, helping flow traffic around the building. The proposal has a kiosk for ordering on the northwest side of the building here. Traffic flow would then come around, and in here, we've got enough lane here for double lanes of traffic, and then the window would be proposed here. So that a lot of this traffic flow within the parking lot all pertains to the drive-through. And I think if there were to be a project that we can undertake at the moment, that's a smaller project, even though there's a lot to it. That's gonna be like the first, that'll be the first one that we try and tackle. Yep.
Okay, we'll kind of walk through the comments, and I think some are gonna be details to tie up with town staff, and others we can give you our feedback on.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through them one by one. So the definition of restaurant. Yeah, there's nothing for us here. So drive-throughs shall not be permitted unless it's a permitted conditional use specifically approved by the planning board. So I think the guidance we give, like in general, is there any concern or resistance with a drive-through on this site?
My only thought when I first think of this site is there's too many access points. So the addition of curb cuts to limit the points of access onto Lewiston Road is a good sign to me. And I think it's a pretty big site and there's probably room for a drive-through. So in concept, I don't have a problem with a drive-through. I will say that if you're interested, I'm curious if you're talking to any national restaurants, they are so fussy on their drive-throughs. I used to work for a company so talk to somebody because you might just be making a drive-through that nobody wants.
The building is in. So a national chain doesn't want anything to do with it anyway.
Okay, all right. I was like, because there was a reference to
A
national.
national chain would come in and probably tear it down if they were.
Okay. Because I was like.
And we don't have interest in anything of like that.
Okay.
at the moment. So.
So Anyways, that's my feedback.
Okay. Jenna?
I'm just looking on the traffic, and I remember like back in the time when the coal farm was still coal farm, we had quite a few accidents, like people were trying to exit the place.
So I can also speak on the traffic. I personally don't think that, there'll ever be traffic like there was when Coal Farms was at its peak in the late nineties, early 2000s. The traffic we're gonna see is on our own property. Because the traffic flow for this project runs around the building. And so unlike Gray Center that has multiple drive-throughs that pour into the streets, we're not gonna have that. We've got way too much property here too for overflow of traffic. If anything, it's gonna probably help traffic at, the multiple in town.
Aroma Joe's.
Aroma Joe's and McDonald's especially. McDonald's is kind of a nightmare there. There's not enough room for people to park and flow with the drive-through and hopefully we can mitigate some of that. I mean, I don't want to take any business away from anybody else, but
Yes, you do.
I'd like to sell a little coffee, yeah.
So I guess where I wanted to get at is conceptually the conditional permitted use of the drive-through.
Yeah.
Be okay with that. Yep. And I am also, so I want to get them the comfort that like they're not gonna run into a barrier.
Yeah. We've actually been through this before and my father actually helped push the drive-through thing within the town. And there is a drive-through window in Coal Farm. It's just not in the space that's gonna be used as a drive-through right now. So.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to do is just get you clarity of where we're gonna be, so you should have a decent level of comfort that the board would conceptually approve a drive-through as a conditional use. Number two, that's a town thing. Number three, drive-throughs proposed as a restaurant use. It's unclear what it's associated with, so just in your application, more detail with the plan. Traffic impact site is not applicable, so there's a requirement for the town of what you need to do there. So that'll have to be part of the application. Except the same thing for the wastewater. So Kristen, on sex input from DOT may be necessary due to traffic generation. What was your thought there?
I was just trying to point out to the board, the items that the applicant proposed as being not applicable. And in this case with traffic, I still don't have a real clear understanding of what the use is gonna be. Bother about it, and I think having some clarity on the traffic generation is gonna be key. Because if this is, and I know Shane, doing that, if, for example, if this is Starbucks, you're talking about way more traffic coming in and out of there than you are if it's your potentially your own, coffee breakfast at the setup that doesn't have as much name recognition, maybe initially, but still is gonna have a traffic impact once the word gets out of a lot of people coming and going. So just the looking for board input on making sure we're on the same page on wanting traffic submittals, wanting numbers for whatever that use is going to be defined as. There's typically a traffic engineering angle, driveways on a certain side, machines, that sort of thing.
So-
Looking to see what you want.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the challenge is the applicants want to be flexible with what they can bring in as the restaurant, coffee shop, pop-up, like they're looking for flexibility, but the challenge with that is approve the application, we need a use,
Yeah, because I don't,
right?
That's what the
Right.
use,
use is restaurant.
yeah, the use is restaurant under, like I said, under the umbrella as Coal Farms, but what people think of as Coal Farms is completely outside of the realm of what we can actually do
business wise. As I mentioned, the size and scope of what Coal Farms was in its heyday is pretty incredible. And that model just doesn't work anymore. People don't travel like they used to. And so we really need to pare things down. I have my own kind of visions as to what will be in there. And so my father as well. And so we're trying to mesh them all together. And the best we can come up with is this idea of a umbrella with multiple DBAs underneath. The layout of the building is the layout of the building, and there's a lot of access to certain spaces, let's say a bathroom. The access to the bathrooms in the downstairs cuts off where the window would be for the drive-through, which limits our space. So we're not looking to invite a 100-piece menu drive-through. It's just not feasible the way the building's laid out and where we want to put a drive-through. So we are limited as far as what we can do. It appears that we have an unlimited amount of space because the place is so huge, and I see your concern about having, you know, tons of people coming through because of a potential Starbucks or something like that. But really, I think it stays fairly mom and pop. That is obviously not a traffic count for you. So yeah, if we need to do some sort of traffic survey, then great, but
Yeah, just step up to the mic if you can. Thank you.
And I'm John Ryerton, just assisting Brandon and his family in trying to ascertain exactly what's critical here. And as I've shared with them, and I believe that I've gotten some feedback that's positive, the restaurant itself, you know, has some notoriety to it in terms of people know that used to be a restaurant. It's no longer going to be offered in that fashion. And so from a traffic standpoint specifically, I guess what I would request some consideration of the board is that this drive-through use is not, in my estimation, going to be a destination situation where people wake up in the morning and say, that's where I'm going. And it's not as if you were planning a dinner date. You know, Coal Farms in its heyday used to be then a destination. But because this isn't a specific destination, but rather visible to the traffic flow on Route 100, as I've tried to share with Kristen, in my estimation, this is going to be stifling existing traffic that's already in existence on 100 that sees an opportunity for a drive-through and then takes advantage of it or doesn't. And so a traffic count is not going to be something that is out of the textbook as I see it. It's just simply going to be an accessory use on an existing building that people will be able to observe and through signage become aware of its existence while they're traveling. I don't think anybody in Auburn is going to be waking up and saying, we're going there for our drive-through, but rather it's just going to be trying to take advantage of existing traffic flow. So that's what I wanted to point out. So it makes it difficult to assign a specific out of the textbook a value for a traffic count. Doesn't seem to fit into that category. At least that I would propose that as a consideration for.
I mean, it makes sense what you're saying, you know, we definitely want to help you get there. I guess in the end, it just sounds like we need more definition of what we would improve. Like what it is that you're doing, and figure out the best way to estimate what the traffic is. I don't know what the answer is, but we definitely want to, you know, support you in getting back up and running.
yeah, there'll be many phases to this. So it's not really the intent to build a building with all these businesses all within the next year and have it up and functional. It's kind of, it needs to be, there's plenty of renovation that needs to happen. So we'll be picking away at the businesses. Again, this drive-through opportunity is the first one that we can accomplish with the least amount of burden.
And I think my understanding of the traffic engineering tasks that come to you for review are more about the kind of. We're looking at the kind of people coming in and out of there because of what's there.
Right.
So whether they're driving there as a destination or they're just going by and deciding to go, it's kind of it's by use. So if it's a drive-through, it's based on X, right? And the traffic. So I think they're pretty cut and dry, and it's just estimates of like how many turning movements of particular use will generate. And that there is one of those uses. But I think that's what I was trying to get at in the questions. Was trying to get a handle on what that would be. And again, I think some of it is based on the number of seats or potentially menu items. I don't know that I think they get into quite a bit of detail on that. Specific.
I feel like there's gotta be a good starting point there. It might not be perfect, but it should be a good starting point. Okay, let's keep going. So. There's something, let me make sure we cover it. So number 7, so that. The drive-through is accessory to the restaurant use, which is not allowed per zoning. The drive-through is conditional in the commercial zoning district and must be separately approved by the board. So as long as we can approve it separately,
Yeah,
it's not prohibited because there's a restaurant there.
Correct. It's just not the language. That's pointing out the language in the application is accessible, and for the zoning ordinance, it's not proper language. It's not.
Okay, so they just need to revise the way they're applying for it.
Yeah, or just be your understanding.
Right.
When your approval process is going to be that drive-through is a specific thing that's known as.
Okay, so in the application,
Separate,
they tied it together, but it's going to be separate, so we need to ask for it
Yeah, it's
separately.
part of the process.
Yeah, okay. So site distance, gotta show that. Looking for more details on the site circulation. So we don't have any particular comments at this point.
Yeah, and I would lean into the staff and people that are smarter about traffic circulation than me, just to make sure that what's being proposed is going to be not in a unsafe position. But I know I like more curbing, prevent more access off of the.
And then offering site design standards, I would recommend, similar to the previous applicant. Start with what's in the ordinance. That's kind of the typical, that's what gets you an approval. If you need a waiver, you have to tell us why, or what you're doing is better, or if it doesn't make sense, and we'll consider it. But the easiest way with the planning board is to start with what's in the ordinance, and we have to approve it if it meets the ordinance. Some other notes from staff on impervious surface, it needs notes. Concerns from the chief about access to the building. Bunch of stuff applicable to light manufacturing overlay district. This all looks like kind of stuff to work with Kristen on. So let's see. Discussion points. Any additional input on information or submittals that will be required for the applicant's list of NA. So let's go back to what they marked NA and see if or agrees with that or not. Put some guidance there. So, we had NAs for traffic estimates on 4, water use, wastewater generation, input from regulatory agencies. The 4, 5, and 6, they're proposing NA. Is that acceptable to you, or would you want to see any or all 3 of those?
I think as much as you don't know, the use that's gonna happen here impacts all of these things, and if that's the first thing that you wanna do, maybe you wanna talk to, and if it's gonna be you, figure out what your use is gonna be, and then it'll all flow from there, because we've gone round and round about use, it's important. It triggers a lot of things, and it might make things easier if we know only gonna sell coffee or donuts or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we can certainly bring a business plan
Yeah.
to the board so that we can see really what we're looking to do. Like I mentioned, there's a few of us involved and we all kind of have different ideas. But at the end of the day, as far as water usage, we'll never be washing dishes like we did when it was solar farms in 2001. Same with wastewater. There's a state-of-the-art water treatment facility across the street that we've put in, and over the last couple of projects that we've done, I guess the town has been updated on a lot of what's going on with the wastewater treatment facility. So it's quite a bit more. It's quite a bit substantial, considering what kind of foot traffic we're going to have in the building. You know, as far as pop-ups go, you may see spikes in water usage and whatever, but it'll never be the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the heyday. So I think
So,
if you need us to go into detail on all of that kind of stuff, we haven't, because we've done it before. So we can bring you all that information again. But it could be in the file.
yeah, so, you know, you kind of keep referencing back to, you know, it's basically, it's not as big as Coal Farms was, is sort of how I characterize it, which is, but it's fine. That's not really our concern, or I think what we're after, but you do need to define how much you're going to use. And if, you know, if you have a system that's there that can handle this, all you have to do is show us that you're using less. Like, you have to just show us you have the capacity, I think is really the bottom line. So it's not that it's NA, and it sounds like you have infrastructure that can handle much more than what you're doing. So I think you have what you need. You just need to document it. Okay. That you're using less, you're doing less, and just kind of show the path. That would be fine. I think you can get there.
Yeah, I think with that, you want to put water from the water district, like the ability to serve probably enough. You know, that they're able like to supply the water. You know, I know that facility, the septic tank, is pretty good system.
I'm not sure what the date is on the Route 100 project, but I know that we've showed a concern about the age of the piping coming in, the water coming in. I think that some of the oldest piping that the town has is coming down Route 100 and ending just after Coal Farms. And I'm not quite sure when it's Route 100's redevelopment is scheduled, but I know that the plan is to redo those water lines, which would probably ensure the quality and volume. But again, if you want it on paper, we'll get it on paper, no problem.
Okay, and then, you know, the other two, do we have input on parking lot standards and buffering? And proposed drive-through use and associated traffic impact and site circulation. I would, I guess, be my same recommendation to start with what's in the ordinance as far as what you provide us and if there's something in there that doesn't make sense, we can grant waivers. Um, just have to justify why you need it and we'll consider it. But I mean, there's not really enough. It's kind of tough right now. There's just not enough detail for us to give you too much feedback. Like you think conceptually, we want that place up and running and lively, and we want to help get you there. And
Well, that's kind of the whole pre-approval process, is
Yeah.
like, we're not quite there, but we want you to know what we're doing.
yeah,
And if there's anything that you guys can throw at us, hey, you definitely need X, Y, and Z, we'll do our best to get those in order before coming back. So we've been through the process quite a bit, so we know what it takes, and so we want to make sure that you know what our kind of our overall plan is.
you feel like you got what you need for tonight from us? Do you have other questions where you'd like more feedback?
Well, I think he's got a lot more information than I do as far as the details on the mapping and all of that. I know we sent over a video as far as the traffic flow on property and where things are gonna be placed. I don't know if that's something that we want to bring up tonight or if it's too early for that. That is available. I'm not sure if any of you saw it. There was a link, email.
WhatsApp.
you know.
Probably too early, I think.
Okay. All right, and I don't know, is there anything that we need to really nail down before moving on, or?
The homework to do, come back and have to be, a little bit more specific. Carry some of those more specific numbers as opposed to get around. One thing I would want to point out is that the orange.
Oh yeah, if you could step to the mic, sorry. Our TV audience of zero needs to hear you also.
Just to follow up on your comments about, the definition of the actual traffic areas. What I want to point out is that the orange area that, Brandon has mentioned has been improved upon to provide that much more clarity to the traveling public where they can come in and where they can go out again. And, it is very specific to making sure that they don't inadvertently interrupt the flow around through the drive-through. And that's why the actual curbing and island work has been improved upon both on the north entrance as well as the center entrance there. Just provide more clarity as people are coming into this property. It will be much more obvious where they can go and where they can't go. And that will also be highlighted, I believe, with more specific signage as well, so that people aren't wondering, where do I turn now? So, but we'll be providing more specific information to the board in that regard.
Hey, sounds good. Yeah, Jeff.
Can you just speak to the 15D4? It does speak to the curb cuts. When they're on that piece. Look, the review authority may permit one curb cut for each 400 feet provided. This property does have 480 leaves. But it might be helpful to have your input at this juncture regarding how many curb cuts it is looking for. How many are they proposing to have? Once. It's one curb cut on a publicly maintained road for every big property. The properties that contain more than 400 feet of frontage, reviewing authority may permit one curb cut for each 400 feet, provided that they demonstrate the practical need. This property is 488 in frontage, I think. So about that, and I just proposing through, because the early feedback on that would be probably helpful, and I think
Does that mean that you could do up to two?
that's my
For the
understanding.
first 400 and
For the meeting,
one for 401 feet plus.
400 feet.
maybe only one, and they don't have eight.
They don't have 800.
But they have, it just says more than 400. I would probably would say you could issue up to 2, the ordinance is looking for 1. But that's, again, that's not one of the reasons I thought that was. Yeah, I would be in favor of dropping it down to 2, and I don't think that would adversely impact the uses there. It might actually make things better, because having so many curb cuts just encourages people to sort of drive across the whole. And I see that you're trying to block it up some, but the fewer entrances and exits on a major road like this, the fewer opportunities there are for accidents. Every time you have a curb cut, it just introduces a risk. So that's a good point, listen, I'd be in favor of seeing just 2 curb cuts on for the other side, unless you can. Given what's going on out there, I think 2 should be enough. But I'm curious what others think there, but I'd like to see less.
It-
3 is not,
I mean, I don't even know.
Well,
I don't think we
What,
can.
what DOT guidelines? I know.
I'm not, I mean, is a DOT permit even involved here? It would be, some sort of.
DOT originally put these curbings in. They were the ones that put all of them in, creating all the cuts.
Yeah, well,
This sounds like more homework between the applicant
yeah,
and staff to figure out, like,
yeah,
I don't wanna just arbitrarily give them an answer based on, just reading a couple sentences here. I mean, it looks, my quick read on it would be like 2 seems like we could do. I don't know if we have a path to even give 3,
right.
so.
Yeah, maybe you do some research with the town and the language and figure out, like, is 3 even an option, but. I'd say I'd be inclined towards 2 in any case, only because fewer curb cuts just introduce fewer places for conflict with the road, so, but. Yeah, homework,
Unless there's something specific about this property.
that's right, yeah, unless there's something, yeah, I agree, I wanna make it
Something,
safer.
yeah,
Not
something, if there's something specific to this where 3 makes sense, then we can maybe.
And we're allowed to,
Right.
which is a big question.
So
Right.
this language is the light manufacturing overlay district language, so let me review it pertaining about the equipment.
Okay,
It's a commercial, but with that overlay. So those will look.
all right. Anything else you want from us? Okay,
I don't
great.
think so.
I don't think we need a site walk, do we? So we won't. We don't need to.
You can take a look when you're.
I'll sit there. Okay, thanks for your time. Look forward to seeing you back with more detail.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? You need to second that one. Second. All right, that's unanimous. We'll adjourn at 9:31.
Oh, it's not really.